Well, thank you for being here this afternoon. Certainly wish none of us were here for this purpose or any reason, but we are, and so we proceed. My job, more often than not, is a really fun and exciting job. Most days are days that a lot of people would love to have. But unfortunately, it also comes with days that I certainly would not like to have, and I know that most people would certainly not want to have either. It involves tough decisions. And being the athletics director, in a lot of ways, is not that unlike being the head coach. Head coach has got to decide who the coordinator is, got to decide who starts at quarterback, it's got to decide who's on scholarship, who's not, who travels, who doesn't, who plays, who doesn't. And all those decisions disappoint somebody on the other side. This is a decision that I certainly wish didn't have to make. I wish we wouldn't have been in this spot because I know it disappoints a lot of people, especially Coach Rhoads, his staff, and our players. Coach Rhoads, his staff, and our players handled this extremely well. I wouldn't have thought or expected anything different from Paul and his staff. They're classy people, they're friends. Paul's my neighbor, and I hope to have a great relationship with him for a long time. Sometimes you can want something more than it wants you. I wanted him to be our coach. He wanted to be our coach, but it just wasn't meant to be. A couple clarifications. Paul was not let go because of what happened on Saturday. We have a saying in the locker room, no one player, no one play costs a team a game. No one game costs a coach their job. We made the decision to make the change because we simply didn't win enough games and we weren't trending in the right direction. Why this week? There's never a good time to do it. But we felt, number one, it was the best time for the players. They're off school this week, gives them a chance to be able to deal with the challenges that come with the coaching change while they're still together, while they still have a chance to have their brotherhood and deal with it as a group rather than next week when they're not coming to practice, when they're trying to go to school. And so we felt it was just better to deal with it this week and give them the opportunity to deal with it as a team, as a unit, while they weren't in school. We thought it was a better time for the coaching staff. The assistant coaches would have all been taken off on Saturday night, Sunday to go out recruiting next week. Would have had to call them all back in. It just was better to give them the ability to know their fate and time to be able to process that while we were still here. Thought it was a better time for our program. It gives us a chance to get a leg up on what is a very convoluted marketplace right now. And lastly, and most importantly, thought it was the best time for Coach Rhoads and his family. Gives them a chance to still be with their team, to have an opportunity to still coach these kids for one more week, give them a chance to be able to enjoy one more week of what's been a very enjoyable 7 years. As Bill Fenley once said, don't be sad that it ended, but be happy that it happened. When Paul and I met yesterday, that's what we talked about. He got 7 years to do something that most people would give their right arm to do one time. We focus on the end, but there's been some great moments during that 7 years, and hopefully over time he can take a lot of comfort in that. Why now, when it appears our team is young and made some progress and ready to go? I believe our team has got more talent in that locker room than we've had in my 10 years that I've been here. We have unbelievable potential, but unfortunately they don't keep score on the scoreboard for potential and talent. They keep score on results. And we just didn't get the results that we need to get. Sometimes new leadership sparks tremendous success. When I look back in the history of Iowa State football, what Coach McCarney did to take this program from ashes to where it was when he was able to hand it off to the next. And where Coach Rhoads has taken this program and put people in the stands and put wonderful facilities for our football players and staff to use. Now it's time to hand it off to somebody else to see if they can take it to the next level. The search has begun, and as we've done in the past, we're not going to comment about what's going on in the search process until it's complete. With that, I'll open it up to questions.
Jamie, was there a win total Paul needed to get this year to keep his job?
As we said at the beginning of the year, we would judge it as the season unwound. I'll never put a number of wins on somebody because there's so many things that can happen, so many things out of someone's control. And at the beginning of the year, I believe I said, maybe not directly quote what I said, because I may get the words exactly right, but I hope the season would be a really exciting season for everybody involved, fans, players, coaches. And in the end, I think we had more disappointments than we all would have liked to have had.
Jamie talked a little bit about how it's going to be a pretty wide open field with a lot of other schools looking for coaches too. What's your pitch? What are you trying to sell to people right now to stand out?
We have a lot to sell. We have the greatest fans, I think, in the country. Our fans, and I know a lot of schools say that, but I think our fans prove it. Our fans have done far greater for us than we've given to our fans. And this, to set a attendance record this season, coming off of 5 wins in the last 2 years, to have 52,500 plus for the last 5 straight seasons, is absolutely phenomenal. So the fan support is second to none. We have the facilities. We don't have to go out and tell a coach, well, if you come here, we'll do this or we'll do that. We've done it. And everything's in place. And thirdly, I think we have a locker room full of potential, that we are poised and ready to perform at the next level. We've just got to find that leader that can take us over the hump and get us to that next level of football.
Jamie, the salary structure and timeline, possibly if you could address that, please.
Well, the salary structure is fluid because you deal with what the marketplace deals you. And, we're certainly going to be competitive for what we need to get done. I'm not worried about that at all. As far as timing, it's, I'll take my chances because I think we've proven that we're pretty effective about how we do a search process, and we'll see how it turns out.
Do you have a timeline in place, when, like a date in mind, you want to get this settled by?
No, you never do that because there's so many ebbs and flows, and the most important thing is that you can find the right person and then hopefully close the deal on the right person. But that, there's an art to it, and there's no one cookie cutter way to do it.
What did Paul show you when you hired him, whatever it was, what made you hire him, Jamie?
What we all saw and loved in Paul, his passion for this place. I still, I said it to the team yesterday. I said it to Paul when we met. I remember sitting here 7 years ago when Coach Chiswick left, and it was a very emotional time for all of us and the players. And I remember meeting Paul and him saying, I watched that video and I want to work for you. And he said it in that voice that we all know. And, it was like you had me at hello. But, that's what makes it hard, because Paul Rhoads has, we chose right. And I said it when we made the change with Dan McCarney. What are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for somebody like the man sitting next to me, Dan McCarney. I think we chose right. Unfortunately, choosing right doesn't always mean they're going to, have the best outcome. I've said many a time that you want to be in the bunker with somebody you want to be in the bunker with, and we were in the bunker with the right person with Paul Rhoads. It just, in the end, it's time for new leadership.
When you have to replace that type of passion, do you have to find somebody with ties to the school almost?
No, I think people overstate that. Last time, and I've said this before, when we hired Coach Rhoads, we didn't hire Paul because he was from Ankeny, Iowa, that he was a local kid. We hired Coach Rhoads because he did what somebody would do to get this level of a job. You know, he left this program, if you all recall, for those that were here, the year before we were really good. And he's talked about that. It was a hard decision to leave because he knew we were going to be good in 2000. But it was his chance to go be a coordinator at a big-time school. And he did that, which put him in a position to go get a job and to get a head job at this level. The fact that he got to do it at Iowa State was great for him and great for us. But he didn't get the job because of that. He got the job because he was a very talented football coach that was ready to be a head coach.
Jamie, you're very high on where Iowa State football could be next year, you're down the road, and everything with that. This is a job that oftentimes ends up on one of those lists of the 5 or 10 toughest jobs in the FBS. Do you think that's actually the case, and do you think that might impact the searching process for who you go after?
It's a hard job, you know, but they're all hard. Okay, you know, if you're at Alabama, it's hard because you're not supposed to lose, you know, so that's hard too. You know, but it's hard being athletics director. It's hard being the basketball coach. It's hard being the director of marketing. You know, it's just, but we need people that understand that and are excited by that. We're not looking for somebody that's going to ride into town thinking that they know more than everybody else. They got to come in and understand the environment, and they got to be up for the fight because, you know, the rest of the Big 12 is not going to sit back and say, well, okay, let the new guy win. They're going to have to fight their way through a very tough league, and so they got to be up for the challenge. And that's part of what makes the search process an art is, you know, that's not the easiest thing to figure out in the process, okay? And that's why most coaching searches, you know, if you were to go back and look, you know, why is there so much turnover in our business? Because we're all trying to do the same thing, win, and half of us have to lose.
For you, what's the key when you go through that process, trying to find that guy that fits everything you just said about embracing the challenge?
I think you got to stay true to your values and find somebody that understands and fits with the Iowa State culture. And that I think we've done a really good job when I look at all our coaches and our staff throughout our department. Finding people that understand and fit the culture here is extremely important because this isn't a one-person job. This is a job that, you know, the football coach needs the support of everybody in our department in order to help get there. We can't miss on any cylinders. And so if you have a coach that, you know, doesn't treat people with respect and understands that they need all those people to support them, they probably are not going to be successful at Iowa State.
Jamie, you said that this wasn't about a Kansas State loss, it was an accumulation of things. But if Iowa State beats Kansas State, are we sitting here today?
It's a hypothetical question. I wish I wish I had the opportunity to answer that question in real time, you know, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
Jamie, what are the reasons that you see why the success and the momentum that Paul had in his first 3-4 years weren't able to be sustained and built upon these last few years?
You know, that's a great question. If I knew that and if Paul knew that, we probably wouldn't be here because he would have figured it out in the moment. You know, in hindsight, you can look back at your decisions and always start to question why things went the way they did. Clearly, you know, personnel is a big part of being a head coach. And, you know, it's you know, Paul, it was his first time being a head coach. And, you know, there were some changes that he made throughout the course of time with personnel. And, you know, I think every time you have turnover, that's usually not good to the long-term success. And, but why specifically, you know, I don't know.
What do you have a specific style of offense maybe that you're looking for the next day?
Now, I'm gonna go back to just saying we got to find somebody that gets our culture. I'm not, you know, going to get into that particular part of it. We're looking for a coach that we feel fits this culture and understands it and has a plan for how they're going to attack one of the best leagues in the country.
What about when, I think it was on Friday, Houston came out and their Board of Regents approved like $3 million. We have schools like Houston and Memphis paying somebody like $2.2 million. How does that impact what you're about to do, and is Iowa State prepared to, you know, not a specific number, I know you said you would comment on that, but is Iowa State prepared to open up the checkbook?
I worry about what we need to do, not what others need to do. You know, if we get the right person, all that stuff takes care of itself.
What's a realistic expectation for Iowa State football?
Well, right now, I'd say we want to get back to having, to winning and going to bowl game. That's what we all strive to do, is be postseason and have an extra month of the season. But I think it's it's about that, but it's about more than that. It's about being part of the culture of Iowa State. I mean, our fans are wonderful, and football games are exciting and great things to do, and you want that experience to be enjoyable. But we need the coach to be somebody that resonates with our community around the state, that helps us help him. And winning is a big part of that, but our fans have also shown that they're very patient. And, they want somebody that's going to win, but we don't want to win at the expense of doing it the right way.
Aside
How
from,
would you describe the culture that you've talked about a couple times here today? Describe or define it?
I think our culture is very wholesome. I think it's very Midwest. I think it's very sincere and grounded. People want to know who you are and why you're doing what you're doing. You've got to be approachable. You've got to be in the community. But wholesome is probably the best word that I can think of.
aside from the improvements athletic facility-wise that have already been made and the head coaching salary, what can the athletic department and the university do to help the new coach along as far as putting a winning program together, the kind of program that you're looking for?
We need to continue to be extremely supportive and flexible. I think one of the great things that we have at Iowa State is we've got a president that understands the importance of athletics, and a president that knows that, our jobs over here are tough enough, so we don't need a ton of bureaucracy to navigate, the world in which we operate in. And he's been wonderful on that front. We need, as a department and a fan base, to continue to know that when there's needs, we got to support them. And, and we've shown that with the football building and the stadium improvements and being able to get out and go recruiting. And, the budget's there, the resources are there, but, the resources maybe weren't there 10 years ago. And so we can't slide back. We got to keep feeding that engine. And, but I don't worry about that at all, because I know we've got a great staff, a great support staff that gets that and is ready and willing and wants football to be successful.
JD, do you anticipate maybe a lot of the basketball search, men's basketball search, seeking player input, or is that something that, maybe as this search unfolds?
It's the timing of the basketball one was just so unique, in that we had so much time to kind of figure out, well, what could possibly happen. And we were also the only search at that time, which just really took the pressure off of the timing. This time we're in a competition. We've got to put our best foot forward. We've got to sell, and I'm confident we can do that. But the schools that are all out there looking for coaches right now, you could take those schools and probably put them into different buckets of what they're probably looking for. And not all of them are probably going to be looking for the same type of people we're looking for. And that's okay.
Did that come into play at all, just with the many jobs? Because it's an unusually high year. I think we have 13, 15 jobs open at this point. Did you even think about that? Or is it you just worry about Iowa State?
I worry about Iowa State, but I'd not be truthful if I didn't say that's not in your mind. I think we've had certainly had a history of not letting the grass grow under our feet in search processes. So I think we're equipped institutionally to move forward, which, it goes back to Randy's earlier question. I think some of those schools, I would put our processes up against theirs any day of the week. But yeah, there's, it's clearly a seller's market than a buyer's market. And that always scares you, because what, that could mean for the price of, of getting somebody. But we'll cross that bridge when we cross that bridge.
Do you think this is an anomaly, or could it be a trend with, with television money? It's become such a big business. Do you think we could see more of this in the future?
I think you can go back over the last 7 or 8 years, and it's cyclical. It works itself through the system. We're just catching it in a year that there's a lot of it.
Gene, are you going to use a search firm
We will,
Same one?
yes.
Jimmy, you talked about the money, you know, how being a seller's market, it costs a little bit more. The $4.5 million buyout, $750,000 roughly a year. How much of a complication does that, you know, kind of insert into your job and the coaching search in general?
None, because one of the things that we've done over the last 10 years is, that I'm very proud of, is we've run an athletics program that it's not only invested in itself, but is prepared for a day like this. And, you know, those decisions that get made along the way, you know, my staff, some of them are here, but they've heard me say it before. When we make decisions, I make decisions based on the fact that I plan to be here. And a lot of my peers around the country make decisions in the moment. And it's moments like this that I'm glad we made the decisions with sustainability in mind, because we've put ourselves in a position that we could deal with that type of a buyout issue. But I also look around the country and go, there's people paying a lot more for their buyouts because they made some rash decisions in the moment. And, you know, the price of poker just continues to go up. And I think we've positioned ourselves very well to have to deal with that. There's no way around it. I mean, 5 years from now, the cost of making, you know, getting the wrong person will be even far greater than it is today. In 10 years, it'll be even a multiplier. And if you went back and looked at it 5 years ago, you know, you'd go, wow, okay? So you've got to make decisions all the time that aren't just in the moment, you're thinking about what that impact could be down the road. And we've positioned ourselves really well to be able to deal with that issue. I don't like to spend that kind of money because I'm prudent, but it's the cost of doing business.